Hi all, how's everyone doing this morning? This is daily analysis, Forex daily analysis day 5. So, very interesting what's happening currently at the moment. So, yesterday, just to recap, I seem to have placed my levels at the wrong, or rather drawn my key levels at the wrong area, which ended up making me place trades that were not accurate, and therefore I got stopped out. So if you've been watching, you remember gold, I placed my zone somewhere around here, and what I was looking for at that time, I noticed that this level, whenever price was under it, it couldn't seem to break it, or rather it had difficulty. As you can see, if it's above, it trades above; if it's below, it trades below. And on the lower time frame, when you dive a little bit deeper, you can see price had sort of a, call this like a liquidity sweep of such, and then on the lower time frame there was a lower high. So I was anticipating a lower low up to the neckline, and unfortunately I think because I drew my I'm just gonna try to show you what I was thinking about. So I was thinking something along these lines: head and shoulders here at potential pivot point, down to the neckline, and from the neckline break below, and I was gonna hold. But unfortunately that did not happen, because when I did a couple of reviews on the trade, I noticed that the key zone where I should have placed the level should have been somewhere around here, from the very bottom of this candle where price seemed to swing. So if you just look at that and then you re-look at the setup, you can already tell that that trade was invalid, because you can see that this head and shoulder pattern was actually still above the level. So yeah, it does happen. Sometimes we're not always gonna get it right. Predicting the market is one of the hardest things that you could do. But once again, since we know that we not always gonna be in the right, the correct thing to always do is to place your stops and take the loss, as hard as it may seem, but that's what you need to do to avoid big losses. So yesterday I took a loss on gold, 1% loss, and up until gold kind of thinks or figures out what it's doing, I'm not really gonna be interested in this pair, because at one time it looked like it was forming an inverse head and shoulder pattern. Now it looks like it's just kind of moving sideways. So when it comes to gold, I think because the dollar is like not sure currently, so gold can swing both ways. It could break below and then give us retest and then break lower, or it could break above and give us retest of that structure and continue up. So it can go either way. So up until it breaks out of the structure, I'm not really gonna be interested in gold. One of the pairs that I'm interested in, well, not interested in, but I look to it more for direction of other pairs, is dollar. So dollar, you can see it was just crashing straight through, and when we reach this, I'll show you now, support level, price kind of you can see on the daily here. On the daily, so you can see on your left hand side, this is where price previously refused to go lower, and as soon as we hit that point, you can see this is where this potential inverse head and shoulders was formed. So what I will be looking at, I will be looking at potentially dollar index to start to rise, and if that rises, it will give us potential extra confluence on USD pairs to make decisions. Remember, we're not really trading the dollar, we're just looking at it and seeing, okay, so if dollar's down, then my bias for USD pairs obviously will be up. So I'm expecting or anticipating it to form some sort of inverse head and shoulder, which will then validate my current GU setup that I have planned here. So GU also, from previous days, I was expecting a sort of inverse head and shoulder. That did not happen, and what happened with this is the price just pushed up, and I noted that when price pushed up, it reached this previous high, it formed a lower time frame sort of correction, and it failed to break above this level, right? So normally that indicates us that some sort of structure or corrective pattern is forming, and it is potentially possible because if you look here, we had a major push up with no correction to correct this move. And if you look at previous past history, you can see almost at every point you have a push up, you have a correction, you have a push up, you have a correction. And yeah, we had a push up, and now this is potentially a correction forming, and also at previous high. So this is quite a big time frame. So if you drop it down to a lower time frame like 15 minutes, it's possible to get a 2:1 trade. Yeah. So price at key structure correction has formed. Drop it down to a lower time frame, we can see that initially there was a smaller time frame, yeah, correction. Drop down, now I'm seeing a potential another correction forming. So I will be looking to get in this trade, and if this trade triggers, and then hopefully we will get a 2:1 on this trade. UJ, not so interested in this pair for today. My original bias was more to the upside, although I'm not sure if that will happen now because I see price kind of drop down, give a bearish flag, so possible further continuation of breakdown. Not really interested in that. GJ also potential swing to the downside. As you can see, yeah, price kind of looks to be potentially forming a larger time frame uptrend, and you can see this is a potential pivot point. This is a potential pivot point, so not really so keen on this trade because if you look, there's a potential head and shoulders that was formed here. The only thing is that the breakout was not so strong that it could break this previous low. So if the breakout was more stronger, like break below this previous, and then we sort of had this correction, yeah, like what we're seeing up here, if this was here, then I would be more keen on this trade. Nevertheless, it is in the plan, so if price does drop below this previous level and give us some sort of correction like it's done here, possibly something like this, then I will be looking to get in this trade. Other than that, I'm not so interested in that trade. Euro USD, I think this is gonna be based off what the dollar does. So you can see here we've kind of developed a head and shoulder pattern on the higher time frame, but as I said, because we're not really sure what dollar is doing at the moment, we can't really anticipate what's gonna happen on another pair. So Euro USD is out. US 30, I was anticipating for the price to break out from a correction around this level and then to the upside. It may still happen, it's gonna depend on the dollar. um, and also the American economy. So my only real trade I could say today that I'm really keen on is GU, because price is at key structure. We also had this previous impulse with no correction, and we also had a failure of this potential head and shoulder pattern. So the failure of this pattern could develop into a larger pattern, and this corrective structure is very possible, which we'll be looking to take advantage of today.